Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack the anatomy of a truly fascinating modern mystery. I want you to picture something for a second. A mountain so deeply revered, so incredibly enigmatic, that no human being has ever stood on its summit. I mean, we live in an era where we've mapped the ocean floor, we fly into space, we've trekked across literally every corner of the globe, but there's this one peak that remains completely untouched. So today, we're figuring out exactly why Mount Kailash continues to defy human conquest. It's a wild story.
Okay, just to set the stage, think about Mount Everest. It's huge, right? Over 8,800 meters, but it's highly commercialized, and literally thousands of climbers have conquered it. Now look at Mount Kailash, hidden way out in the remote Tibetan plateau. It stands at 6,638 meters. You hear that? It is significantly shorter than Everest. And honestly, technically speaking, it's not even the most difficult mountain to climb. But it is entirely untouched. No way, right? Why on earth does a shorter, totally accessible mountain remain unclimbed while people are summiting extreme peaks every single year? Well, the answer doesn't have to do with physical barriers. It's actually about an impenetrable shield of belief.
And that brings us to the immense spiritual weight this place carries. Mount Kailash isn't just, a pretty geographical feature. It is uniquely sacred. What's absolutely fascinating to me is that it's revered by millions of people across 4 completely different religions, all at the exact same time. There are very, very few places on Earth that hold this kind of collective, widespread reverence. It's a literal spiritual epicenter. Now, what's really interesting about this is who exactly reveres this mountain and why. Let's break it down. In Hinduism, Kailash is believed to be the divine residence of Lord Shiva and goddess Parvati, with Shiva sitting in deep meditation there, completely beyond the limits of time and space. Then in Buddhism, it represents Mount Meru, which is the absolute spiritual center of the universe. For Jainism, it's the exact sacred spot where their first Tirthankara attained liberation. And followers of the ancient Bon religion, they consider it their holiest of all sites. So we're talking about the literal center of the cosmos for millions of people across totally diverse faiths.
And listen, this devotion isn't just theoretical, it is incredibly active. Every single year, thousands of pilgrims travel thousands of kilometers just to perform what's called the Kora. Basically, this is a sacred, deeply grueling walking journey right around the base of the mountain. And they do this in freezing, extreme conditions, holding on to this deep belief that completing the trek will cleanse a lifetime of sins. So just picture this, you've got thousands of devoted people right at the base, pushing themselves to the absolute physical limit to circle the mountain. But absolutely no one breaks rank to try and climb to the top. It's wild.
So you might be wondering, what about professional mountaineers? Well, the climbing band we have today didn't just pop up out of thin air. Back in the 20th century, some eager explorers actually proposed several summits. But man, they were met with immense, unyielding opposition from religious leaders and local communities. To them, climbing Kailash was the exact equivalent of, imagine putting on heavy boots and just stomping all over the roof of a sacred cathedral. It was just a massive no. The mountain was meant to be left alone. Eventually, as public pressure really peaked, authorities officially slammed the door shut on granting any climbing permissions. And so the peak remains officially unclimbed.
All right, so the official ban is firmly in place. But that begs a super fascinating question. Is respect the only reason it remains unclimbed? Because if you start digging into the centuries of history and local folklore surrounding this region, you'll find that a lot of people truly believe the mountain itself actively rejects anyone trying to conquer it.
The folklore here is bizarre, it's captivating, and it goes back centuries. Pilgrims frequently report feeling this overwhelming spiritual energy the second they arrive. But it gets so much stranger. There are legendary accounts of literal time dilation near the mountain. We're talking travelers claiming their hair and nails grew at a totally unnatural, startling pace. Like a few days spent near Kailash literally aged them by weeks. Add to that these persistent reports of compasses just wildly malfunctioning, making navigation nearly impossible. And then unexplained ethereal lights glowing in the freezing night sky over the peak. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
But to really wrap our heads around the strangeness of Kailash, we have to look at one very specific, striking number: 4. Just keep that number in mind for a second. We already know the mountain is sacred to 4 distinct religions, right? Well, this rule of 4 actually extends deep into the mountain's physical geography as well.
Check this out. From above, Mount Kailash has an almost impossible, perfectly symmetrical pyramid-like shape.
It has 4 exceptionally steep faces that point almost perfectly toward the 4 cardinal directions. It's so visually precise that researchers and travelers actually catch themselves comparing it to ancient man-made structures. And beneath it, the mountain serves as the massive water source for 4 of Asia's major rivers: the Indus, the Sutlej, the Brahmaputra, and the Karnali. So given this incredible geometry and its role as this monumental, life-giving water source, it makes total sense why ancient civilizations looked at this specific spot and thought, yep, that's a literal cosmic axis, the center point connecting heaven and earth. And this brilliantly illustrates the tension at the very heart of the Kailash mystery: myth versus science. On one side, you've got these captivating, supernatural tales of forces and time dilation protecting the peak. But on the other hand, scientists can explain these exact phenomena through objective reality. Think about it. High-altitude hypoxia and extreme environments severely alter human perception and psychology. That easily accounts for vivid visions and that weird feeling of time slowing down. Natural magnetic variations in the rock, that happens all the time, which explains the compass glitches. And those mysterious spiritual lights? Science points directly to natural atmospheric effects, specific lighting conditions, and light reflecting off the ice. So, from a strictly scientific perspective, sure, there's 0 verified evidence of supernatural activity or physical forces guarding the peak. But ultimately, science cannot measure spiritual significance. Science gives us the mechanics of the mountain's geology, the psychological effects of the extreme altitude, but for the millions of people who walk the Kora, Kailash is far, far more than just a massive pile of rock and ice. It's a profound symbol of faith, and it demands immense respect.
So what's the crucial takeaway here? Well, Mount Kailash stands out in a world where human beings have conquered almost every conceivable corner of the globe. Its summit remains totally unclimbed, not because of some insurmountable technical difficulty, and not because of an impassable wall of ice. It remains untouched because it is completely protected by an invisible, impenetrable shield of human faith.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought. Should Mount Kailash remain untouched forever? There's this constant, really profound tension between our human nature to explore and push boundaries, and the absolute necessity of preserving sacred spaces that hold so much meaning for millions of people. I want you to let that sink in as you reflect on the anatomy of this remarkable mystery. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the fascinating world around you.